I'm Colin Johanson. I'm the lead content designer on Guild Wars 2. So all of this is still kind of subject to change. The lobby stuff is still something we're working on a little bit. But the way it works right now in game is you basically take your character, you go to the PvP part of the game, so through Lion's Arch potentially, and you get into the PvP lobby. And when you're in the lobby, you basically talk to a guy, and it opens up a browser of all the existing games that you can pick from that are currently going on. And it'll show you the game, the map that it's in, the number of players that are in it, the max number of players that can be in it, and you can just select whatever game you want and just jump right into it while it's going on. When that game ends, it recycles and starts again instantly, and it rebalances the team based on the score each person got in the last round, and you start fighting again. And people can jump right out of it, they can jump right back in. When you leave, you go back to the lobby, and you can select the browser and pick from another game if you want, or you can just stay in the game if you like the people you're playing with, and the round ends, the next round will start right back up again, and you can keep playing with them. So right now it comes out of Lion's Arch, and whether it'll stay there or be something you can just jump to anywhere in the game or from any of the major cities, we're still playing around with that. We'll finalize details on that later. Right now I think it's kind of placeholder. So structured PvP is a capture game right now, and it actually works a lot like Alliance battles did in Guild Wars 1. So you have capture points you can take, and as long as you hold a capture point, each capture point earns points for your team. Every time you kill someone, it earns points for your team, and the idea is that you want to be the first team to get to 500 points. And so every second you're holding that capture point, you're getting extra points, and killing people is getting points to build up towards 500 and be the first team to get there. So it's all about holding those capture points and getting points to get up to be the one to win. There's also an additional objective that's part of PvP that helps you hold and take the capture points, and that is a trebuchet. And the trebuchet starts the battle broken, and there's a repair kit you can find and bring back and fix the trebuchet, and then someone on your team can actually man the trebuchet and fire shots out into the map to blow people up, and the trebuchet is really powerful. It also takes a lot of skill to use. So the skill 1 turns the trebuchet to the left, skill 3 turns the trebuchet to the right, and skill 2 powers up the shot. So the longer you hold skill 2 down, the more powerful and the further the shot is going to go. So you get people who get skilled at turning and aiming the catapult and firing at the exact right distance to hit people, and that actually becomes an ability you can do in the game. And the trebuchet is destroyable, so when one team repairs their trebuchet, the other team can come up and try to blow it up and prevent them from using it. So it's kind of an additional objective that plays into the battle while you're trying to control all the points. So for the demo we've brought today, there is only one map. There will be multiple maps in PvP when the game releases. And the trebuchet aspect of it for this map, this is the Battle of Kylo, which is actually a famous battle from the history of Guild Wars, and you're basically getting to reenact that battle. And one of the cool things about this map is the trebuchets actually can blow apart parts of the map and change the paths that you can use to travel through the map while in your PvP. So it opens up new tactics that you can use. You can use the trebuchet to blow apart the top of the clock tower, and it opens up a new path you can take to jump in from the top of the clock tower. There are windows that you can destroy to create new paths to jump through. There are supply containers that block line of sight, and you can blow those up so you can get clear line of sight on the capture points instead of hiding behind the supply containers. So there's a lot of destroyable environments in this capture point map that allow you to change up the flow of the battle and make it different when you play through it each time. So there will be ratings and rankings for PvP. As you're battling, you're going to be earning points. There will be the structured competitive PvP as well, which will be tournaments as opposed to the actual hot joinable games that we're showing today. There will also be tournaments where you can play, you get your team of 5, you go in, and it's like a tournament bracket that you're fighting way up to the top. All of those things will earn you rankings and earn you some sort of points, but we haven't finalized the details on exactly how those systems are going to work, and we'll talk about those more down the road when we get into PvP rewards and PvP ranking and all of that stuff. Guild versus guild PvP does not exist anymore. There is the only 3 types of PvP are basically world versus world PvP, which your entire guild could go into together if you want to. Structured PvP, that is the hot joinable kind, where the games are just always going and you can jump into them. And then structured PvP, that is the competitive PvP, where you're actually joining in tournaments and fighting in the tournaments. So those are the three kinds of PvP in Guild Wars 2. How guilds are going to interact in each one of those different PvP types, we haven't announced all the details on yet, and we're going to go into that more in the future when we talk about guilds specifically. I will say that World versus World PvP is a great location for your guilds in particular to go into, because everyone in the guild can be in there together all at the same time and fighting. So that's a big part of that. So we're still working on the VW content at this point. It's something we've actually been working on and playtesting a lot in-house right now. And we wanted to focus on getting structured PvP out there first. And we'll talk about World versus World more down the road when it's completely ready to go and we're really happy with it. Yeah, so there will be underwater combat in World versus World. How much of it is still stuff we'll go into down the road, but there are water areas there, yes. Structured PvP we haven't decided yet, and we'll talk about that more later when we talk about the other maps. Battle for Kylo does not have any water in it, though, which is the one map we're showing right now. It's anywhere between, it's about 5 to 15 minutes, give or take, somewhere in there. Ideally, we'd like it to take no more than about 10, 12 minutes. We definitely want matches to be quick. We want them to be firing off. You do a match, then the next one's up and you're ready to go. So you can really like have a lot of fun and have a great match and then get back in and play another one. You can take a lunch break at work and you can play a couple matches and you can get back to work. So, you know, it's not going to be something that's like an hour long. We definitely want it to be quick and fast-paced and very action-oriented. We want Guild Wars 2's competitive PvP to be a game type that people who are esports players are coming to play. We actually, Guild Wars 2 is down at the ESL booth this weekend, and there's a reason for that, is we want those top-tier competitive PvP players to be playing Guild Wars 2 and competing for prizes. We want this to be the game that all the people who play online games say, I'm going to play Guild Wars 2, that is the competitive online game to do. So that's very important to us. Yeah. We don't have any new news on the item shop. I will reiterate what we've said a lot about the item shop, which is, you know, in Guild Wars 1, the item shop didn't sell anything that affected the power of your character. It was purely cosmetic and add-ons. Guild Wars 2 is going to use the exact same model. It's very important to us that if you buy our game, you play the game for free forever. You don't actually have to spend any more money. And the things that are in our cash shop are purely add-ons and bonus stuff that you can buy. If you want to, you don't need to buy that stuff to play the game. There are certain armors that are limited to specific races, and those are kind of like their racial kind of totem armors, I guess is, I don't know, that's not the right term for it, but they're like the heritage armors for that race, and they are specific to that race in certain cases. Other than those very specific ones, all the other armors in the game are available. If you're a light armor class, you can use any of the light armors. If you're medium, you can use any of the medium armors. If you're heavy, you can use any of the heavy armors. There are just a few subsets that are limited to races only because they are specific for that race. You will definitely be able to make multiple characters for sure. How many that is, we haven't finalized yet. But we don't want it to be a number where you look at it, you're like, oh man, I can only make, you know, 2 characters. That sucks. We want to give you choice. We don't want to make it extremely limited. But yeah, we need to find out what the right number is for us and for a number that makes the players feel like they have enough slots to play the game. Yeah, we actually haven't finalized if we want to do that yet or not either. In Guild Wars 1, that is the way that you got additional character slots. It's entirely possible we'll do that in Guild Wars 2, but we'll talk about that more probably when we talk about the cash shop and all the details about how that works. And the dungeons have 2 modes to them. There's story mode, and once you complete story mode of a dungeon, which is the casual, pick-up friendly style, they're much easier. They actually tell the story of Destiny's Edge, the guild from the second Guild Wars book. The story dungeons being completed then unlock explorable mode of that dungeon, and explorable mode is the super difficult version of the dungeon. It requires a very coordinated 5-person group, and that actually has multiple paths. Each one of those explorable dungeons has at least 3 paths that you can take through it, and you can play those as many times as you want. You can do path 1, path 2, path 3, and then go back and start at path 1 again. If you really love path 3, you could do that one over and over again. Totally up to you. It all comes down to choice. We want people to be able to play the game however they want, and we don't want to put any weird limiting factors like time on how often you can do things. If you're the kind of player who loves dungeons, we want you to be able to play dungeons all day. If you're the kind of player who wants to go out and explore the world and you want to explore everything, we want you to be able to play dynamic events all day. If you love story and you want to do the story of your character, you should be able to do personal story. You will have to break off and do a few other things occasionally to stay at the level to do personal story, but mostly you can do that if you want to. If you want a PvP, you can just go off and play PvP. And it's very important to us that you have choice as players to play the game the way that you like to play it, and so you should be able to do dungeons all day if you want. Correct. Yeah, so each dungeon has basically a max level that is allowable for that dungeon, and if you're over level for that dungeon, you get sidekicked down to that max level so that you can still play that content if you want to. So you could go all the way to level 80, never play a single dungeon in the game, and then you could decide, hey, I want to try out dungeons, and you could go back and you could play every single dungeon in the game at that point if you want to, and they'll still be fun for you because it'll just cap you at the point that you're still very powerful for that dungeon, but it'll still be very fun, and you're not just going to be running around one hit killing everything. So I can give high level details. Sidekicking is something we're going to talk about a lot more when we get into the point that we're talking about world versus world PvP as well, because the two of those are kind of integral to one another in how they work. But sidekicking, basically, you either get sidekicked down, which means that you are above the level of the content, you are way above the level of the content that you're doing, and the game brings you down to the level of what you're doing automatically to make sure that you don't ruin the experience for other players, and to also make it so that content is available for you to play if you want to. So there's really two benefits to that. It's an anti-griefing mechanism, and it's a thing that allows you to play more content in the game. Then sidekicking also works the opposite way, where people can sidekick you up to the level of content in the game. So for example, if you are level 20 and you're in world versus world PvP, your buddy can take you up to level 80 and you can play with them at level 80. You're not going to be as powerful because you don't have all the massive awesome gear that they've got and everything, but statistically you'll be at a point where you can at least be competitive at that level. So you can always play with the people you want to play with. And this goes back to, again, that message of choice. Play the game the way you want to play it with the people you want to play with. If you're level 30 and I'm level 50 and I want to play with you, I should be able to play the game with you. I shouldn't have to go back and make a new character and try to race through the game to catch up with you. Everyone's had that experience in MMOs, and it's super frustrating. I hate it when that happens. I just want to play, I want to play with my friends wherever they are in the game, and we want to let you do that. So that's definitely the idea there. Yeah, and in structured PvP, it's not even really sidekicking. It's just as soon as you enter structured PvP, you are set as a PvP character, and as long as you're in PvP, you have everything maxed, period. So all the gear that you had in PvE, we don't use any of that statistically in PvP. Everybody is statistically equal in competitive PvP. And so you're all just at the same playing field, and then it's all about skill. How good of a player are you? Not what loot did you get or anything like that. And you can, level 1, 15 minutes after you buy the game, jump into structured PvP and play that forever, and you have everything unlocked right off the bat. You don't need to unlock any abilities. You've got everything ready to go. There is a good amount of content done. I couldn't say. I will say that the demo that we brought here to Cologne this year, if you include the human starter experience, the Norn starter experience, the Char starter experience, the 9 different personal storylines you could experience across those 3 different races just from level 1 to 10, and the competitive PvP that we've got, and the high level Asura and Sylvari map, there's probably at least 100, 200, 300 hours of gameplay available in this demo. If you were to just do nothing but play through all the stuff we've got, play through all the different personal story chains, experience all the different dynamic events, go and play PvP and experience every profession in PvP, do an Asura and play all the way through the high level map, then do a Sylvari and play through it. I can't even begin to guess how many hours it would take to play through all of that stuff and see everything. It is huge, and that is just a small part of Guild Wars 2 that we've brought here this weekend. This is literally just one small piece of the game. There's so much more than what's in this demo. Crafting is available in this demo. You can craft. Yes, you can go to any one of the major cities, and actually, if you talk to one of the crafting trainers and select to join their profession, they will give you a bag in your inventory that you can double click and open, and they'll give you a giant pile of crafting materials that you can then go use, and you can test out crafting and see what it feels like. Crafting is always still a work in process. We're still working on it, but there is a much more functional version of crafting available in this demo today than was in the last demos we've shown. So you should definitely go check that out. OnlineWelten, du spielst es doch auch.